Sincere love means looking to give rather than to get. This applies to every area of life, including our sex lives. God is the most wonderful creator and designer, and He's given the most amazing gifts. He's given the gift of marriage and of sex. Sex was God's idea. He's not surprised by it. He's not looking down thinking, oh my goodness, whatever will they get up to next? Pleasure is God's invention, not the devil's. The devil tries to distort the beautiful things that God creates. And the Bible affirms our sexuality. There's a whole book in the Bible devoted to the subject of love and sex, the delight, contentment, and satisfaction it brings. But the inventor and designer also tells us how this beautiful gift is to be enjoyed to the full. And the biblical context is lifelong commitment within marriage. Jesus quoted the book of Genesis, "For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." In other words, there's a public act of leaving and a commitment, a gluing together. That's what the Hebrew word means, glued together. It's not just physically and biologically, but emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and socially. And that is the Christian context for this one flesh union to take place. And in this context, there is freedom and enjoyment. It's exciting, thrilling, and beautiful. It's the most positive view of sex and marriage that exists. Actually, it's by far the most romantic view. And it is God's plan, it's God's purpose. And the designer says, here is this beautiful gift. But don't mess it up, because you can hurt yourself with this. It's so powerful. There's no such thing as casual sex. Every act affects this one flesh union. I sometimes illustrate this by gluing two pieces of corrugated cardboard together, one with a picture of a man, one with a picture of a woman. If you glue them together and then try and pull them apart, you see the damage it causes, the hurt. All around in our society, we see broken hearts, people who are hurting. God doesn't want you to get hurt. And therefore, He's given us this beautiful picture of how things can be and how things should be. The good news is, it's never too late. God loves you. The society that Paul was writing to, like our own society, is one where God's standards were not kept. And they really messed up, and they were hurt and broken. But Paul never condemns them for that. He just says, don't live like this any longer. From now on, live differently. God forgives. This is all about God's love for you. And that's why Jesus died for you, so that the past can be forgiven, so that the past can be wiped clean, so that the scars, if there are scars, can be healed. Jesus wants to restore wholeness to your life and give you a new start. Today can be a new start for you. So, there's sincere love. Another treasure is enthusiasm for God. In Romans 12:11, Paul says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. This means keep your spiritual enthusiasm. What matters is the long term.
I grew up as an only child. I was the good church kid. At 18, like so many bad cliches, I rebel. Became a nightclub promoter. And over the next 10 years, from about 18 to 28, really climbed up New York's social ladder. At 28, I had gotten many of the things that I thought I wanted. My girlfriend was on the cover of magazines, I had a Beamer, I had a Rolex, I had a Labrador Retriever, I had a grand piano in my apartment in New York, and I was so unhappy. Something awakened in me, it was a realization maybe that I would never find happiness where I was looking for it. There would never be enough girls, there'd never be enough drugs, there'd never be enough parties. I guess it was a fresh look, being able to take a look at faith again with fresh eyes. And I became so compelled by a Jesus who went around serving the poor, who went around looking after others and lived a life of integrity. You know, there's this verse in James that I came across that said, true religion is to look after widows and orphans in their distress and to keep yourself from being polluted by the world. So I was 0 for 2. Not only had I done nothing for the poor in a decade, I literally polluted people for a living. I made this radical life move. I wound up selling all of my possessions. I joined this humanitarian mission, group of medical doctors volunteering in West Africa, operating on a huge hospital ship, and I become their photojournalist. I saw a lot of stuff over those 2 years, and I think the thing that struck me the most was people drinking dirty water. Half of the country didn't even have their most basic need for health met. Half the country didn't have clean water to drink. And when I landed back in New York, I was 30. And this was the issue that I felt so compelled to work on. And Charity Water was definitely birthed out of my faith experience, of me returning back to Christ, to God again. And I believe that the idea of Charity Water is very close to God's heart. I believe the idea of a world where every single person drinks clean water is so fluid, is so in line with the heart of God, the heart of the Father. And it's an amazing thing to be able to do with my work. Over the last 9 years, we've raised almost $200 million. We've helped over 5.5 million people around the world get access to clean water, so we've made a little bit of a dent. And most importantly, the number of people without water has come down from 1 billion to 660 million. If I look back on it, I think this idea of really trying to serve God through my work, has changed everything in my life. But I think, you can do that wherever you are, whether you're a banker, whether you're a florist. You can bring, the kingdom values that you believe in into your work, into the way that you serve your customers, into the way that you lead your team members, into the way that you support others.
Paul says, present your bodies as living sacrifices. Now, this is an act of the will, to offer all of ourselves to God, all of our lives.
And that means giving to God our time, our most valuable possession. When someone puts their faith in Jesus, their priorities change. Relationships become the most important thing. Relationships with people, but also your relationship with God.
Yeah, but giving God all of our time doesn't mean we spend every waking moment reading the Bible and praying.
Yeah, investing time communicating with God will transform your relationship with Him. And investing in relationships with other people is also important. You're not supposed to do this thing on your own.